like he's trying to run a one-man band out there. Behind his seat. And leave a comment below. This is a make-or-break season for him. He's got to make an impact. Welcome back to the show. Good morning to all of you. Happy Thursday, January 25th. We got a lot to talk about. Jim Harbaugh has left the University of Michigan. He's moving on to bigger and better things, if you want to call it, with the Chargers. Before we dive into that, let me welcome our co-host to the show, the guy we love, the main event. We got a lot to talk about today. My co-host, the founder of My NIL Pay, Brent Chapman.
And
let's go, Brent. Let's go.
Face for radio. Right there.
Yeah, I know. The face for radio. You're
Brandon,
still in.
I have got on a fresh pair of brand new tighty whities today. I am feeling good and refreshed and excited to talk about Jim Harbaugh and Tyreek Hill for the 98th time this week.
That's it.
Hey, Howard.
Trending?
Howard, do we have the Brandon Mason crush, man crush thing to flash on the screen yet? I think I've been requesting for a few weeks.
We got to pull that up for Brent. We got to pull it up for Brent. But you notice every time we talk about Josh Allen, we don't pull up your man crush. We just let that fly under the radar, right? No, so listen, Brent, we got a lot to talk about today. Jim Harbaugh has left University of Michigan, and why this is so significant and why I think it's little, people talked about it. We knew he was looking into it. But then he came back and he said, hey, listen, I want to put in the clause that if I stay with Michigan, that I can't be fired, or there's a firing clause if anything comes back from violation. So people are like, whoa, maybe he is going to stay at Michigan. But no. To the surprise of a lot of people, he jumped ship, he's gone. And now, Brent, he is with the Los Angeles Chargers. And look, I'm happy. Herbert gets a great coach in Jim Harbaugh. I think people out there are excited. I think this is one of the very few times where people watching football are like, this is a great move, right? It's a great move, but we can't forget they just won a national championship at the University of Michigan, right? So he's like, I did what I had to do. I'm moving on. And people kind of are like, wow, bittersweet, but can you knock them, Brent?
No, I mean, I think that I have previously said that the Chargers, to me, of the open teams, not including the Cowboys, the Chargers were the sort of most talented or ripe or kind of the situation that Harbaugh was looking for, right? They have a couple really good players. They have a young star quarterback in the making, but they have a lot of holes. There's a rebuild. They've got some good picks, right? This is what Harbaugh wants to come in. Harbaugh's not, I doubt they're going to back in the playoffs in a year, but he wants to build something to be great. Here's where I think it's really interesting, Brandon, is the AFC is already a cluster mess of the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals when they're healthy, right? Now you put in the Chargers. The thing I like about this as a Bills fan is the Chargers are in the AFC West with the Chiefs. So maybe they can beat up on each other a little bit during the regular season. I like that.
You know what? It's interesting you said that. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even go down that road. But at the end of the day, this is what I feel. Just like college football, we talked about the portal. We'll get into another day. We can have a live discussion longer about the NCAA portal. I feel the NFL and the NCAA is really starting to trend like, hey, I'm leaving. Back in the day, coaches were like, be happy you're playing. Get your ass out there. We had these tough coaches. People didn't want to leave. They wanted to play where they were. And now it's like 5 good games. You're great. 2 bad losses. Hey, we got to get rid of this guy. This guy's not playing that well. So it's like, how many people now will be looking to jump ship and maybe try to follow Harbaugh, right? Which is not the NFL way. I get it. There's contracts. The price is different. The salaries are different. But it's like you can feel the momentum of how people are starting to act in football in general. And then now even sports across the board. But Harbaugh taking over the Chargers, is really exciting. They have something to look forward to. They have a great quarterback people were high about, loved. I think he could bring some morale there, but like you said, this is not an overnight thing. This isn't like, oh, here we come, Chargers. They're going to be, 10-0 starting into the season. They got a lot of work that's cut out for them, and right. I think this is a great move. But, Brent, I want to ask you, how do you feel realistically about, and Howard pulled up for me, the players that are at Michigan, the new recruits that are at Michigan, the juniors, right, those sophomores that are moving up to get their first time to start at the University of Michigan. Do you feel that they are somewhat lost in the shuffle? Like, Michigan's still a good football team, but they lost their coach. They're losing their quarterback. They're losing some other players. Are they in, like, if you want to say, another rebuilding chapter now at Michigan?
No, they're fine. The way these college programs work, like Alabama and Michigan and Texas, they just reload every year with a new crop of the time. I mean, look at the rankings of the top recruiting classes every year. It's the same 10 teams in the top 10 every year, right? So they just reload. So fine, McCarthy's gone, Harbaugh's gone. Well, Sharon Moore is nothing to sneeze at. I think when we had Jamie Morris on the show a couple weeks ago, he talked about Sharon Moore and how he had stepped in and coached 6 games this year for Harbaugh. I think he won more games for Michigan this year than Harbaugh won.
Hey, that's fair
right
enough.
So they've already got their head coach. They're not going to change anything. I'm sure they have a little bit of an agreement on who he gets to take and who stays. I'm sure they did that amicably, right? Because they obviously don't want Harbaugh to gut the whole Michigan staff, right, and leave Sharon Moore with nothing. But assuming a majority of the staff stays in place, you got your recruiting class. They're going to be fine. They'll be they'll be in the playoff, which is going to be 12 teams next year. I mean, look, it might not be the same. Of course, it won't be the same, but it wasn't going to be the same with or without Harbaugh. So Michigan's fine. Sharon Moore is a good coach. It's a good transition for him. He gets to take over a program that's been built up by. This is exactly what Harbaugh wanted to do, Brandon. Yep. He wanted to come in, restore Michigan back to the top of the college football world, and then leave them with something to build on. He did that, and now he's gone.
He did. Listen, Brent, and you nailed it. He did a great job. I'm not going to say he turned the culture around or turned the environment around, because Michigan has been a powerhouse for a long time. They had their bumps in the road like every other team does, every organization, every franchise. You're great at times. You fall off a little bit, just like University of Florida, just like Florida State, just like Texas. You fall off, you get back on. So I don't have doubts that Michigan will be good. My point is, though, the drop-off when you lose that quarterback, like that powerhouse quarterback or the guy who was just managing the team properly, you're like, okay, what do we do next season? Okay, we got our guy. Let's start growing. He's going to be fine. No issues. But losing your quarterback, losing your head coach, this was something that was kind of like in the media a lot. So people were like fighting for Jim Harbaugh, right? Kind of like, free Jim Harbaugh, free Jim Harbaugh. Those recruits were like, let's go Harbaugh. He fought through the violations, some of those bad guys, bad boys vibes, like we're going to get this done kind of thing. But here's the problem. In the transfer portal and all these things that are going on, just like the Washington coach, DeBoer, goes to Alabama. Now these other players that are coming in to Washington are like, whoa, I went there for him. Juniors and seniors coming up are like, I'm playing here and I love the organization, but I'm out. So I'm not saying Michigan doesn't have a good team. I'm not saying that Michigan can't produce. I'm not saying that they won't be fine to compete. What I'm saying is, in the next several weeks, remember, this news just came out yesterday. This isn't a month old. This is yesterday. Jim Harbaugh just announced yesterday. So these players, I'm sure they had in their mind an inclination, of course, is he going to be here? Now that it's official and he's gone, I guarantee you, people feel some kind of like, whoa, this is like, I'm not saying that they take it to the chin like it's on them, but I'm just saying they got to feel some kind of way about this. My coach left me high and dry. Even the guys from Washington said, whoa, he just left us here. We've been building this program. There is going to be conversation about that. I think Michigan will be fine, but I do think that it's more interesting than people are thinking.
I actually think you're wrong. I think that you come from an era where that stuff mattered to the players and the coaches. I don't think that matters anymore to the players and coaches with the transfer portal, and they come in, if they don't play, they leave, and the coaches are leaving and the players are leaving all the time. I just don't think I get your perspective, and I think you were right 15 years ago. I don't think that's the culture anymore with NIL and the transfer portal and all the movement. I just think they expect this stuff happens and the players will be fine and they'll be ready and they'll compete next year at a high level and be one of the best teams in the country.
Well, before we move on from Jim Harbaugh, people coming in and watching now, good morning. I see on here Brenda, Teresa, Candy, good morning. Everyone that's coming into the chat.
That's by the way, that's the below average white guy fan club right there that you just read out. Teresa, Brenda, Candy, those are all.
I love Brent Chapman, baby.
That's my fan club right there.
So, but listen, before we move on to that, I'm gonna give you my quick little synopsis, and you could say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20. When I went to Pitt, I had, and I'm not making this shit up, I had 80 scholarships for defense, Division 1A. Could have went a lot of places in the world to play defense. In high school, I was a great football player, and I love scoring touchdowns. I want to play running back. So what happens is late, I get a few scholarships at the running back position, which I wanted. So Pittsburgh sends me an offer. I take that offer. Now, what's exciting about this? I got there. I loved the school, loved the campus. It was fun. I also had the vibes of the coaches, the team, the stadium was great. You come through the tunnel and they welcome you. Number 27, Brandon Mason. I was all pumped up, excited. Parents get to know the coach. Parents get to know the running back coach. We're good to go. That's my coach in the running back room. Weeks later, Brent, hey, I want to inform you, I'm moving on to other options, and I'm leaving the team, and I'm going to, Syracuse. Just give you a name. I go, okay, coach, good knowing you. I'm 17 years old. I'm really excited to come to school. You're gone. I just vibed with you. That's why I was going there. Loved it. Thank you. Now, check this out. Next coach comes in. I'm like, okay, great. He goes, Brent, don't worry about it. This is what we're doing. Can't wait to have you. I watched all your clips, your film. I recruited you at another team. Well, shit, that's great. I didn't go to your school, but hey, now we're reunited. This is awesome. Brent, 1 month later, hey, it didn't work out. We had everything lined up. I'm like, dude, this is the second running back coach. Running back coach in like 3 months. So I'm just telling you, at 17, 18 years old, your parents believe in your coach. They believe in your head coach primarily, but they believe in who's talking to you every day. They came to my house in my living room with my mom, and then they go, oh yeah, everything I told you, throw that shit out the window. It doesn't feel good. I know what you're saying. Times have changed. I went on a little rant there, but they're young and they need some guidance.
No, I think that's great perspective for everybody, and I think that is timeless, right? That applies all the way across the board. As it relates to Michigan, though, I think Michigan's done a good job of trying to keep that consistency. And when they transition from Harbaugh to Sharon Moore, they're going to try to keep that consistency. They understand that's what makes a great program is that you don't change running back coaches 4 times in a year. It's why these lower programs struggle, because they can't keep that consistency. So great story, Brandon. I think that was awesome for everyone to hear. It kind of sheds light on how things work. Thanks for sharing.
Well, let's move on to Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, because I have a quick little stat for you, and I think he's been playing great throughout the season. Little Rocky B's playing great. I got a stat for you. So as I pull this up and read it correctly, Patrick Mahomes, okay, with a Super Bowl win, so he's 2 wins away, NFC Championship in the Super Bowl. He's 2 wins away, and he will join Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Terry Bradshaw, and Troy Aikman as the only starting quarterback to win at least 3 Super Bowls as a starter. Cool. So Patrick Mahomes is jumping high levels, and here's the thing. This game against the Ravens, I hate to say this, and he's won Super Bowls, obviously, but this is one of Patrick Mahomes' biggest games in his career. And I'm not saying because it's the accolade. I'm saying he's playing against a great defense with the Ravens. Everyone's talking about this. It's divided. It's not like Chiefs are going to win, no problem. It's divided. Like 50% basically are saying Ravens, Lamar Jackson, MVP, the real deal. Patrick Mahomes, the GOAT, the guy we've watched for years, has won Super Bowls, has won playoff games, and Lamar Jackson is not doing that, has not been that successful. So Patrick Mahomes versus the quote-unquote, front runner for the MVP. This is one of his biggest games of his career. Can they prepare any different, Brent? I mean, this is just playoff football. I mean, I'm really excited about this game primarily. But can they do anything different? Can Mahomes, can Travis Kelce, Andy Reid do anything different to prepare for the Ravens?
I think it's just another game of the season for them, right? They're going to prepare the way they always do. It's a big game. It's Mahomes' now second road game in his career, right? So he's never really played on the road in the playoffs. So he's going to go to Baltimore. Baltimore's been excellent. I mean, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago that they're the first team in like 30 years that had the number one offense and number one ranked defense in the league.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is if Mahomes cannot, if the Chiefs cannot get up like they did last week against the Bills and play at their absolute best, they're going to lose this game. And even then, I don't know if they're going to win. Here's an interesting statistic that I saw yesterday, Brandon. Josh Allen has lost 5 playoff games in his career. The team that loses or that beats Josh Allen every time has lost the following week.
Wow. Now, I was going to knock you for talking about the crush again, hitting back to Josh Allen, but we're not going to do that. I like the stat.
No. So, and the reasoning, the general reasoning behind this is to beat the Bills, you have to get up and give it everything you have. And it's like your Super Bowl to go in there and do that like it was last week. High emotion, high energy. And then, we did it. Now you go play the actual best team in the league.
I agree with you.
Butt kicked.
You know what? That's very interesting.
I think that was a very well stated statistic fact that I found, and I think the Chiefs are gonna get killed. I don't think they're gonna be up for it. I think they're not as good this year, and I think they gave it everything they had to get past Buffalo, and they're done.
So I will tell you this: I'm divided in that statement, right there what you just gave. I agree and disagree. Let me tell you why. I agree what you said about Buffalo. I really think that Buffalo, and I'm going on a limb right here. I love Lamar Jackson. I've been talking about this all week. I want to see him win a Super Bowl in the worst way. What you just said is really true. Playing the Bills last week, the Chiefs had a Super Bowl already. The Bills could arguably be in the Super Bowl. They could arguably beat the Ravens, arguably beat the Chiefs if they played again, arguably beat the Lions. So I agree with you. They played their Super Bowl, and the Ravens did not. The Ravens played a good team in the Texans with C.J. Stroud, but they did not play the Buffalo Bills, the playoff Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. I agree 100% with that. But what I disagree with is this. I don't see a blowout. Here's what I see. I see players competing like Lamar Jackson at a high level, but there's something about Patrick Mahomes, and this is why they call him the GOAT. He's so much like Tom Brady, and I'm not talking about athleticism because Tom Brady is not athletic, but I'm just talking about the will to win games. It's like you have Patrick Mahomes like back up against the wall. He doesn't have this guy. They just picked up another receiver, by the way, a next Steelers player, receiver. So it's like they have their back up against the wall, and it's like there's no way. And then this guy just wills his way to wins. Tom Brady wills his way to wins. Lamar Jackson is an MVP, and he wins football games because he puts it on his back. Like Josh Allen, running for first downs, giving everything he's got. I think when I watch this game, Lamar Jackson's going to play great. He always, it's going to be closer than people think. I'm going against my will here, what I really believe in my heart, but I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's a close game. People are like, no, Ravens are going to win. I think Patrick Mahomes pulls us out in the end. That's how I feel about it. I love Lamar Jackson, just saying that. Disclosed.
Brent's getting this one right. Brandon's going to be wrong here on this one, but Ravens are going to win that game.
Let's move on. So what?
Oh,
coach
let's
left,
move to
Brent?
Brandon's favorite topic: the Dolphins
go.
and Tyreek Hill back to back. Man crush alert. Where
Let's
is it?
not do Tyreek Hill right now. Let's go into
Oh.
coach. What's going on here? He decides to leave, and they let him get released because he wants to go back closer to home. I understand that, but he just, I guess Fangio just says, hey, look, I want to get back up to Philly. Vic Fangio, which he did take the job with the Eagles. We'll get there in a second. But he leaves the Eagles. He's a defensive coordinator. He leaves the Dolphins, a defensive coordinator. But the Dolphins' defense was not that damn talented. I mean, they got beat by everybody that was decent this year. So it isn't like, I'm not knocking the guy, but I don't think he's provided that much to the Dolphins where they could be like, oh, my God, we lost everything that we ever wanted. I mean, I don't think that's a problem, Brent. I think that him leaving could probably be a plus to bring in another defensive coordinator from somewhere else.
I think you're forgetting how bad the Dolphins defense was before Vic Fangio showed up. Vic Fangio is a very accomplished defensive coordinator. Their defense was horrible in previous years, and they brought Fangio in at the end of last season to clean it up, and he did. The defense was much well improved. They had a ton of injuries down the stretch, which contributed in them losing the division to the Bills and getting the 6th seed in the playoffs and so on. But,
they got destroyed, Brent. Tua threw for a lot of yards. They had a great offense, and they still got beat all the time.
Vic Fangio is a good defensive coach. He'll go on. They're going to bring somebody else in. I don't know what they're going to do with the defense. And, they have the personnel, and Fangio did a good job. So I'm not exactly, maybe he had some other personal reasons he didn't want to go through it again. And he's an older guy and he's been around the league a long time. So maybe he just was kind of like, I'm done. But, they're going to need to bring somebody else in that can really do a better job than what had happened in previous Mike McDaniel years there.
Hey, Howard, can you pull up Tua for a minute for me? So when I'm watching this, right, and I go, okay, he's gone. But, Howard, pull Tua up for me real quick behind here. So Fangio's gone. Now, here's the thing. And I know what you said about this, right? Like Fangio, yeah, he did come in. He did well. He cleaned it up. But regardless,
they finished third in
is it going to make a big difference to the team next season? I guess my point is, I don't think it will. But here's the conversation that really needs to be talked about more. Will Tua be there? In a quick nutshell, it's like they're still trying to figure this whole thing out with Tua. And if it takes this long, and I'm not saying the money part could take longer, negotiating time, how much money, how many years, yeah. But I think a lot of people are holding their breath right now like, okay, we need to know who we're going to have playing next season. Is it going to be a veteran or is it going to be a draft pick? And I think Tua, he played well. I think he played as good as he's going to play. He had obviously the best receiver, arguably, in the NFL this season. So until injury, so I just feel like Tua, in general, Brent, I don't like the move of bringing him back. I like Tua. I said it all the time. I like Tua. I like what he brings to the table. He's a great person. He's a great teammate. I can say so many wonderful things about Tua as a person, so it's not knocking him whatsoever. And I'm looking forward to having him on the show, and I will talk to him about this. But I just think as a franchise and organization, you're getting ready to your defense coordinator, you're bringing somebody else in for defense. You're going to have some draft picks coming in. You're going to move some players around. You're looking at other receivers you got. I like Tua. I think, are you going to bring him back for a 1-year deal? Something like that. Maybe you draft a quarterback, comes in, he plays 1 more year. I just don't think the Dolphins should be like, hey, let's sign our injury-prone quarterback to a long-term deal. 3 years, 5 years. I don't think it's smart. We talked about this. Do you think, just in a nutshell, briefly, should they bring Tua back? Yes or no? And what do you think about that?
Well, he's under contract for his 5th-year option, which is through this next season, I think, for $24 million or something. So, I think this sucks for him. I think we've talked about this before, right? Is that he really shouldn't be playing football anymore, and he needs to figure out what to do. They'll bring him back for 1 more year. They'll see what they get out of him. If he isn't, then they won't sign him. They might tag him. They might move on, but they're going to give him 1 more year. This is very similar to Dak. they don't really have a plan to move on. They have an offense that's built around him. They have a team that's built around him, just like with Dak and the Cowboys. They're stuck with this until they are ready to do something else, and they're not thinking about that right now. So they're both the Cowboys and the Dolphins are one more year with their quarterbacks, and then if it doesn't work out, then they'll have to make some decisions. But this guy's going to cost 35, 40, 45 million dollars a year, and I don't know if the Dolphins are going to want to put that into him. No. So
if you put your general manager hat on, if you put your general manager hat on right now, are you drafting? And I'm going to ask you two questions. This is how I feel about it. But
by the way, I'm interviewing for general manager of the Chargers. I think I've got a call in for that. I'm going to be Harbaugh's GM.
But here's the thing, Brent. Are you drafting a quarterback this year to come in and learn behind Tua, or are you like, okay, Tua's got 1 year left. We're looking around at these other quarterbacks that are floating around, that are leaving their teams, they're veterans. We need someone to come in and win.
They'll do that a year from now. So a year from now, if they decide to move on from Tua, they'll go get a Russell Wilson-ish, whoever the Russell Wilson is that year, and then they'll draft a guy. And that's a year. That's a year from now. That's the plan. A year from now. So
all right. Well, let's move on to this conversation.
Man crush alert! Man crush alert!
Tyreek Hill is in the house. What's going on, Tyreek Hill? So Tyreek Hill now allegedly, this is all in the media now. Tyreek Hill has a quote unquote wife, newlywed. A couple months ago, she was in the stands. He gives her a football, and they get married. So people are like, now you're getting divorced. He's like, no, I'm not getting divorced. I'm happily married. Well, the records indicate in the media, and the records filed in the judicial, section there, say that he filed for a divorce. So now it's like Tyreek Hill's going through. His house is on fire. He gets injured. They're in turmoil. They lose some games. He doesn't get, as far as he wants to. Obviously upset about that. House catches fire due to a child using a lighter of some sort. And now he's getting divorced in quote unquote the realistic measures of paperwork documentation. But he's telling everybody, I'm not getting divorced. This is my wife. I'm happily married. So all this confusion. And then Howard pulled the picture up behind here. This gets very interesting for Tyreek Hill. So behind this image, we have another photo here. Howard, pull it up for me, of his quote-unquote other baby mamas here. So now he's got other kids in other places with other women, and it's like,
Howard,
Tyreek, what's going on here, man? I mean,
Howard, can we just get a screen?
My guy is getting abused over here, Brent, and I'm like, bro, you're the man. I mean, I get it. You got the money to take care of it. I don't mean to say it. Take care of this situation. Take care of his kids. Wonderful. I have kids. It's wonderful. But I'm just saying, this is a big deal. And there's a lot going on with Tyreek Hill right now. So if those kids are in Florida, right? If they live in Florida, and then Tyreek Hill wants to then go play somewhere else, that puts a strain on it. You have kids, Brent. You know what it's like. You want to be near your kids. So this is more of a conversation where I'm going in a different direction. Tyreek Hill has a lot on his plate.
Howard, can we just get
we're not going into all that. We're talking about
can we just get a picture
going on with Tyreek Hill right now.
Can we just get a picture of all of Tyreek Hill's girlfriends up on the screen? Like, holy moly.
And it's crazy. I mean, good for him, but bad for him. But anyway, Brent, listen, I want to answer this question. Can he leave there? So look, here's the thing with Tyreek Hill. At the end of the day, at this point, I'm not sure that he can actually leave Florida. If he wants to leave and he wants to get traded or something happens, his contract situation, and he wants to go and play somewhere else, he's kind of in a position where he has his kids here, he's locked in, Florida's his spot, Miami's his team, so it's kind of more like, Brent, he's got to kind of look at it and go, he might be a Dolphin forever. That's kind of where I'm leaving. Even if he has to take less money, because you're not going to up and leave. If you're bringing your family, great. But you're not going to up and leave, and there's several women with kids in different parts of Florida. I mean, you have kids. You can sympathize with that and kind of understand where I'm going with that.
Yes, completely understand.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to the Eagles. Okay, this is very concerning. Obviously, Jason Kelce possibly retiring. Jalen Hurts ended his season in a little bit of a awkward, emotionless, if you want to say. Wasn't really motivating people, wasn't getting out there and getting it done, wasn't truly excited, didn't show any real emotion. And now it's like, okay, can Nick Sirianni turn this team around? The Eagles are keeping Nick Sirianni. They've made that clear that he's the coach. But you're losing your starting center, the operating cast of your offensive line, and your quarterback left the organization mentally, in my mind. And it's like, okay, you're going to turn this organization around. We're going to come back. We're going to be better, but you're losing some key components. Do you think it was wise to keep Nick Sirianni? I think it's okay. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't know if the Eagles they're on the verge of breaking down.
Yeah, they did not end the season well, right? Finishing 1-6, I think. They need to, but Nick Sirianni, he deserves one more chance. He did good his first 2 years. He built a team up that was not performing well and brought them back to prominence and got the whole Jalen Hurts thing going. And they've been playing well, and they were really good this year. They were 10-1, and then it just kind of all fell apart. And so I think
they were so good.
But Sirianni deserves an opportunity to right the ship, and they're going to give it to him, right? And so, but this is similar to some of the others, McCarthy and some of these other guys. If he starts out this season 1-6, he'll be fired before their bye week, right? But they're going to definitely give him an opportunity to correct things and see if that was just sort of a one-time sort of losing streak that they can get over and they can return to their high level of play. So Sirianni's going to have a chance to course correct here. And, we'll see if he can do it, because I think the jury's still out on Jalen Hurts, and, you're losing Kelce, and obviously free agency is going to hit, and you're going to lose, like every year, you're going to churn 20% of your roster. You're going to have new players. You're going to lose players. You got to see if Hurt, it'll just be, we'll see how they do, but Sirianni's going to get a chance to roll it back. And
you excuse me, you said it right, Brent. You said if he starts off next season and it's not looking too hot from the start, fans are going to be like, he sucks immediately, even if it's not his fault.
Are you sure? The Eagles fans seem like a fan base with so much patience and love.
Yeah. They have all the patience in the world.
They have all the patience and love of everybody. Yeah.
Eagles fans are rough. They don't give a damn where they're at. If you walk into Eagles Stadium, you have another jersey on. I grew up in the area, obviously in Jersey, and then I was born in Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And I would go to the game sometimes, and I even watch on the media and the news, and you're like, I'm not wearing that jersey in the Eagles Stadium just to be a target. I mean, whether you're tough or not, you're a target, right? So, I like what you said about this. I agree. I think Nick Sirianni has a chance. They should give him a chance. They start off 10-1. It just fell apart. I think they fell apart because of Jalen Hurts. I like him. It has nothing to do with that. I think he's a great person. I think he can be a better leader, better motivational, better emotional. He's got to let these people know what's going on. Let's win. I don't think he did that. I think he ended up this season falling apart, and I think he had some other off-the-season concerns, if you ask me. But let's move on to Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans, contracts are in the works, but not there yet. Baker Mayfield, Brent, and you kind of called this, actually. You said, watch this. The Eagles have to go to Tampa Bay and play against Baker Mayfield. It's not going to be good, and you were spot on. They won. Baker Mayfield kind of earned his jump back, with another franchise. Kind of went up, fell off. He was the first pick in the NFL draft. I mean, literally the first pick. And now he's about to get paid big time money, Brent. We're not talking a little bit of money. We're talking a lot, because he had a 1-year deal for like $4 million. I think they gave him to come play this year. $4 million for 1 year. And now his agent and people are thinking that he's going to get upwards of $20 to $30 million per year. Does that make sense for Baker Mayfield? $30 million a year?
Well, he's a former first round he's a former number 1 overall pick in the draft, so the talent is there, right?
Yep.
And he's been up and down in his career, but did he perform this year? Yeah, he did. He was. I mean, we went over the stats in the past. He was up there with Mahomes and Jackson and Allen in some categories, and with Stafford and some of those other guys. Like, I mean, he's in that top 10 group of quarterbacks. So does he deserve to be paid? Sure. I don't know though if I'm the Bucs, if that's my long-term solution at quarterback.
Right.
And I think that's the tough thing with Baker Mayfield. Is he a serviceable starter in the league? Yes, definitely. I think no one can dispute that. Is he a guy that you're going to build your franchise around and win the Super Bowl? Probably not. Although we've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen now. Teams
He surprised a lot of people this season.
Jared
Brent.
Goff how is Jared Goff different than Baker Mayfield? Former first round pick, manager comes in, is leading his team. It feels very similar. So you've got Brock Purdy leading the team. So look, I don't know what the Bucs will do. I don't even know what GM Brent would do if he was the GM of the Bucs at this point, but he definitely has earned himself a more market value contract, and I suspect you're correct. He will get it.
Dude, I got to tell you, Baker Mayfield has surprised a lot of people, and you were spot on with it, but I think Baker Mayfield even surprised himself a little bit because he fell off. He was in all those commercials, he's running around, he's in the stadium. It's more of those guys like, State Farm is there, Allstate like kind of guy. And it was like spending so much time on those commercials and not winning football games, right? Then he went to Carolina and they didn't play terrible. It wasn't the greatest, but he won some games, right? Then he went to Cleveland, won some games, right? And then it's like, look at this. He's back again. You can't find another quarterback in the National Football League or in college. So Baker Mayfield must be that talented. You said it, as a first-round pick. And Mike Evans also is trying to find a contract right now to extend his, and he's a big-time target. He's going to get paid. Hey, Howard, can you pull up the picture here behind you of Baker Mayfield, please? When I'm watching this guy, here's what I will tell you. When I'm watching him, I'm excited to see what he's doing. I don't know if I have that other picture there, maybe not. But when I'm watching him on the field, I'm like, man, he's surprising people. I look at the contract, they go $4 million, and then I go, okay, maybe next year we go, he played well, let's give him some targets. 3 years, $40 million. 3 years, $50 million. It makes sense, but that's not what they're talking about. $30 million per year. That is like, maybe we should be looking at how to move around and get a draft pick. And maybe Baker Mayfield will take one more year at $8 million, $9 million, or maybe $10 million for 1 year to come back and play again. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Any scramble on that, or you kind of agree?
I don't think so. I think he's going to want a multi-year deal. I think he's earned one, and I think he's going to get one. If the Bucs don't want to do it, he'll go somewhere else.
Wow. Interesting. Let's move on to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had a very interesting game yesterday. And I didn't pull these other clips up, but it was a little bit of a scramble on the court, Brent.
In that tight window,
Kevin
make
Durant
it
shows up,
and complete it. That is
knocked over there, and his teammate comes to help, but he pushes the guy, and here comes Kevin Durant, like, yo, what's going on here? So it's like in basketball, right? There's little skirmishes going on, but if you watch all these angles, it's like, just play basketball, right? Like, is this really something to complain about? I mean, Kevin Durant, one of those players, he's been great for a long, long, long time. Never truly exceeded to LeBron James, but some people would say he's a better shooter. Some people would say that they would rather have Kevin Durant on their basketball team. So, but if you watch this right here, Kevin Durant goes down, and then watch how fast his teammate sticks up for him. That's what you want in your bond. Regardless if it's right or wrong, Brent.
Oh, that was the scrap. There we go. It's the push. And the
You're going to see a different angle here. So you can see. Watch this. Kevin Durant goes down. Bang. And now watch this. He's like, yo, watch out for my boy. What, dude? What's the deal? No punches. Just shoulder.
It was a chest bump. That was a chest bump.
Lots
silly.
Lots
Play
of
basketball.
chest bumping and shoulder popping. Come on, not even here.
It's like I tell the kids when they do this same stuff in youth basketball, right, in middle school, and I just tell them, play basketball. Shut up, get over it.
I mean, yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal. But they're making it a big deal. And Brent, speaking of basketball, okay, Tristan Thompson suspended. Now, using some sort of let me read it to you here so you can have the formal quote. So Cavs Tristan Thompson suspended 25 games without pay. It says for violating the terms of the NBA NBPA anti-drug program. So this is what's kind of going on right now. It says suspension will begin tomorrow's game between the Cavs and the Milwaukee Bucks. So at this point, he's taken some sort of, obviously, muscle growth enhancer. In basketball, players are bigger than ever.
He took human growth hormone and SARM LGD 4033.
What the hell that is?
That before, Brandon? That is testosterone.
That is why I just said muscle enhancer.
Below average white guys don't need any extra testosterone. We are okay in the testosterone department.
Well, this guy here, he's been around for a long time. You see him with Khloe Kardashian, and you see him back on the court. He had some issues, right? Everybody gets involved in a Kardashian, something starts going berserk. But that's what's happened there. And then it's like, do you need to take that? And why this is interesting, Brent. When we watch, and you said this, you can't really compare. People try to do the LeBron James, the Michael Jordan. We tried that. It's like they played in different eras. Like Wilt Chamberlain played in different eras. The only people you really can compare is like Shaquille O'Neal is just a massive specimen in the way, right? Like, wow, or like joking. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is this. Do you feel, I know how I feel, do you feel they really need to have these kind of enhancing to keep up with the way it is right now, with the speed, with the strength? I mean, there's a lot going on here. Does Tristan Thompson need that to continue playing in the NBA?
Yeah, I think they feel pressure to compete and stay up to the competition level. And what that means to different players probably means different things, right? Like, how hard are you working out? What things are you doing to, what nutrition? What are you eating? What's your diet? What supplements are you taking? Because there are legal supplements you can take.
So many things, Brent.
So I think that, when you're Tristan Thompson, maybe you feel that you need this to keep yourself. Maybe you feel you're slipping a little bit. Maybe you feel you're getting a little older. Maybe you feel you need a little extra testosterone to keep things moving. I don't know. There's a lot of commercials about a little extra testosterone. So
he's probably seen those commercials, and he's sitting there scratching his head like, man, these guys are doing these days?
I need some of this. 4 hymns. Brandon, here's what I'm wondering is, what if I took some HGH? Do you think that would kind of like, that would help me out, get some muscles?
Brent,
I take the HGH, do I have to actually work out, or does it just add muscle?
I think you would get yourself to just under a average white guy with a few years.
So I go from below average white guy to just under average white guy.
But I mean, when I'm watching basketball and even obviously the NFL primarily, and the NBA, players now seem to be faster, jump higher, stronger than ever, and it's like you have to find ways to keep up. And then when you watch even the UFC, we have a guy coming on next week, live guest appearance from UFC MMA. It's kind of confusing because they really have to keep up with that amount of, ability. The speed, the strength has to be consistent, and then injuries happen, right? And you're like, how do I recover faster? Again, drug enhancements again to get back on the court, to get back on the field, so you can be one of the best. So I'm not knocking them.
Brandon, we had a great early 20s Brent Chapman story yesterday. Do you want another one about this?
Let's hear it before we get off.
So in my early 20s, I lived in an apartment complex, and a WWF wrestler lived there as well. And we were in the pool one day, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, how can I gain some weight, put on some muscle? I was probably 6'3", 125 pounds, maybe. Right, I was small, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know just the thing for you. I'll go. I'm gonna go up to my apartment in a minute. I'll come when I come back down. I'll bring you all the information you need." So he goes up to his apartment. He comes back down. I'm expecting, like, this is kind of before all the computer stuff, so I'm expecting like some little nutrition guides or something, right, or some weight program or something like that. He comes back with a piece of paper like this, a little piece of paper with a phone number on it.
What?
And he says, call that and you'll get everything you need. They'll show you how to inject it and everything. And so this is, if you ever heard the rumors about the late 90s, early 2000s WWF steroid use, it's real, bro.
Brett, I'll let you get out of here early today. It's so good to have you. Every day, 10 to 11, I'll let you jump off early. Got some meetings to get to. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Brandon.
Guys, thanks for tuning into the Brandon Mason Show every single day, 10 to 11. We talk every sports live. And tomorrow, we have a big ticket item, a big conversation, because it's going to be the final games, the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship. We're talking 30 minutes straight. We got the Chiefs, Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, what's going on? Travis Kelce in the house. And don't forget Taylor Swift. We're going to dive in that tomorrow, 10 to 11. And guys, we'll see you tomorrow bright and early. Until next time.